What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rage, back with another WorldSlayer video to be able to bring to you, and today we're going to be covering the PAX points, and more specifically the Technomancer class and what they're actually benefiting from WorldSlayer content and DLC, and basically you're going to be able to give yourself an idea as to what kind of like skill tree, what kind of you want to be able to put your PAX points into to be able to further enhance your build. So before we go any further, make sure you have dropped a like and a subscribe, it really does help the channel out, and let's get straight into it. So PAX points, just in case you've missed any of the other videos, but PAX points are basically there as similar to you just leveling up. So PAX points are there for after you've reached level 30, you're able to get additional PAX points to be able to put into separate class trees. Now the PAX points will be earned throughout the WorldSlayer kind of campaign, and they will be active when you take them outside of the WorldSlayer content. So this kind of the screen kind of gives you an overview as to how it kind of all works, but it's very, very simple. It really is just kind of like another class tree to be able to worry about. So if we have a quick look into the Technomancer, now every single class as far as I'm aware has 20 points or 20 skill nodes to be able to go into, but you're only going to get so many PAX points to be able to actually make an additional build out of it. Now to be able to hit capstones, it only does take 5 points to be able to get there, so it wouldn't surprise me if it actually does cap out at 5 points for that. These are easily reset, these are ones that you can actually just go back and forth to be able to get sorted, so, you know, don't feel like you're going to be able to, like, fully pigeonholed. It's basically like the skill trees, you're able to just reset them on the fly and just deal with them as and when you want to. So let's have a quick kind of like brief overview as to what each of the skill nodes are actually going to be offering to us, and, you know, let's just kind of go from there, and then obviously we'll have a few kind of like finalizing thoughts at the end as well. So first up on the skill tree, we're going to cover the top tree first. It's a bit faint to be able to make out. Unfortunately, this was the best screenshot I was able to get on the unlimited time footage that I had. But initial strikes, activating skills increase your anomaly power or your firepower by 15% for 5 seconds, depending on which of them is higher. So this is just kind of like a flat full-on boost to firepower and anomaly power. And what you'll notice is the fact that even if you're like an anomaly power build, for example, like the skills trees, your anomaly power was basically at your bottom, your firepower was at the top, and your survivability was in the middle. That's not necessarily the case when it comes to PAX points. You'll actually be able to mix and match and obviously go to top trees to be able to do anomaly power builds, and bottom tree for being able to do firepower, and vice versa. So they've done a nice job of being able to make all of them viable when it comes to that. So that's the first node that obviously you need to pick up, regardless of which of the top skill trees you will be picking up. So if we move from there and go to the top one, this covers Brain Dead, where activating a decay or gadget skill increases your weapon damage by 15% for 5 seconds. Very, very nice when we've got things like Blighted Rounds, Blighted Turret, Cryo Turret, Fixing Wave, and Cold Snap on there. The next one down, that you can go for instead is Lethal Devices, where your ordnance and gadget skills inflict toxic to enemies, hit, and deal additional 10% of anomaly power as damage if toxic was refreshed. So this comes on for your Shrapnel, for your Pain Launcher, for your Tools of Destruction, for your Cryo Turret, for your Fixing Wave, and for your Cold Snap. Moving over to the next kind of almost mandatory node to be able to like progress any further, you need Painkiller, where damaging an enemy grants you 5% health regen for 3 seconds and stacks up to 2 times. Now I will actually make a caveat for this one, because I do think this is going to be a really nice node to be able to pick up for if you are going to be a firepower build, and the reason why is because when we've used Fixing Wave in the past for like co-op builds, it's kind of like there to be able to, you know, give some health regen for other people, but also to fully benefit from the tier 2 mod, the Cycle. This one's actually going to give us that, and we don't even need to worry about using that mod of Fixer Upper on Fixing Wave anymore, so that kind of frees up a mod slot right there for one of my builds. So I'm really looking forward to being able to get that, and that just means I'm going to get a passive damage increase on top of everything else that I'm going to be picking up. Moving swiftly on, obviously with this then branches out into 3 trees, so we'll do the top one first, which comes with Permanence. Inflicting Toxic on an enemy has a 100% chance to inflict a random additional status. Doesn't seem like much on paper, but it will do when we go into the next one, which is Dissection, where you deal 10% more damage to enemies for every status that's inflicted on them. So the more statuses that we're going to be applying from the previous node, the more damage that we're actually going to be inflicting. If we go for the middle tree instead, this is called Necrotic Tissue, where damage against elite enemies is increased by 20% when using a sniper weapon. And then this is further compounded by the capstone, which is Twin Reaper, where sniper weapon shots have a 70% chance to trigger an echo, dealing 50% of the damage dealt by the shot. So overall, I think this is actually going to be a nice DPS increase to all sniper kind of weapons. And I'm interested to see if this also includes like the single shot rifles, the ones that don't actually have scopes, because if that's the case, then I do think that the Instagib build that we did a few months back is actually going to be a very, very nice and very viable build to be able to use this and to be able to increase that damage even further. It's just going to be insane. Going from there to the last of the top trees, kind of like tree inside of it, we've got Depleted Core, where your ordnance skills damage is increased by 100% of your status power, and then this is enhanced even further with the Capstone, where Burrowing Charge, where critical shots inject an enemy with an explosive charge for 5 seconds, dealing 100% of anomaly power as damage upon the next critical shot taken. So overall, these kind of skill trees do increase, are looking to be able to obviously provide some very nice boosts in terms of like survivability, in terms of firepower, in terms of anomaly power, to be able to actually take full advantage of those with the capstones, depending on obviously which kind of like what kind of variant of a build you are kind of playing. So if, for example, you are playing assault rifle and you're playing like meta top tree kind of like firepower, you're pretty much going to be wanting to go across, up, across, and then probably the top of those trees, because the sniper's not going to help you out, and the burrowing charge I don't think is going to make too much of a difference, because your anomaly power is kind of on the low side when it comes to normally a meta Technomancer build. So overall, some very nice stuff, but there obviously we do have another set, which is obviously the bottom skill tree to have a look at. So the first node that's there is the Undying, where every 10% of your missing health increases your weapon leech and skill leech by 10%. Overall, that's a nice survivability bonus right there, but it gets even better because obviously the next nodes that come across, we have Accelerator, where your weapon damage is increased by 50% of your weapon leech. So obviously you can pick some of this up in terms of your class tree already, and obviously you can you can get a few like armor pieces that can help you out with that as well. But obviously then this kind of ties in with the node previously, where the lower health that you actually are, the more damage you're going to be dealing. And this is kind of the same with the next one down, which is Override, where your anomaly power is increased by 50% of your skill leech, and this works in the exact same way, because obviously we can increase those with our class tree, and the lower health that we have, the more anomaly power we're actually going to be hitting, so the harder our skills are going to be hitting that way. Next one across is Apothecary, where you pulse for every 5 seconds, healing all players within a 20-meter radius for 5% of all damage done by you between each pulse. So the more damage you deal, the more kind of like more of an asset to the team you are actually going to be, and that means more healing in terms of that. So overall, it's a very nice kind of like support kind of role to be able to play. It's a nice added bonus right there. Next one up, so we'll do the exact same way. We'll go up instead, up, then middle, then down. So up is Purification Protocol, where your turrets pulse in a 20-meter radius, removing up to 5 negative status effects from you and your allies. And then this gets even better, because we've got the capstone of Lead Seeker, where your turrets pulse in a 20-meter radius, replenishing 25% of ammo and granting 25% increased damage for 5 seconds for you and your allies. So if you are going for a triple turret build, if you've ever wanted to be able to use this and see if it can actually become a little bit more meta, then this is going to be the skill tree for you, because your turrets are now going to be offering so much bonus, kind of like damage, healing, ammo, etc, etc. Yeah, you're really going to be such a team player with this, and I think it's going to be a nice kind of like Star Wars, kind of like hold the line kind of build, and it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out in the current endgame. If we go for the middle tree then, so this goes to Biosync, where your Overheal is converted to a 3-second health regen effect for you and your allies. So Overheal is going to be a new mechanic that's going to be involved with this skill tree, from what I can tell, because the next one, that's the capstone that comes across, Kinetic Converter, critical shots heal the nearest ally for 25% of their maxed health, and if Overheal occurs, the player also receives 20% increased damage for 5 seconds, and this has a 5-second cooldown. So overall, we're going to see some additional health going to be coming our way in terms of a form of Overheal, and on top of that, we're going to be able to deal increased damage to that, and it's just going to be a provided boost to that teammate. So it's going to be interesting to see how we mess about with that to be able to control that Overheal and deal with that way. And then lastly, we've got the bottom tree of that, which is Hastened Influence. Reduce remaining cooldowns of one of your skills by 1 second for each of the status removed by you or applied to an enemy by an enemy player. Overall, very, very nice. And then lastly is Break Their Ranks, where your interrupt skills remove effect resistance from hit elites, and this has a 10-second cooldown, and this applies to things like the Scrapnel, Pain Launcher, and the Tools of Destruction, which I imagine will just be the Rocket Launcher, because I don't think the minigun has that kind of effect. So overall, these PAX trees are very powerful, very strong, and it's going to like change up the meta quite nicely. I mean, obviously, your standard firepower Technomancer builds are just going to get even better, but it now brings some of the other ones in line, and I think it's actually going to be offering more to more of like a group playstyle, more of like a you've got to think of a composition, and I do think that if you actually do like pay attention to that, and you actually take your time to be able to benefit your allies, you're actually going to find some nice builds in here that are actually going to be able to compete, and if not, maybe outperform, but obviously time will tell on that. So overall, what do you think? What's your take on the Technomancer kind of PAX points tree? What are your thoughts as to how you're currently thinking with your current Technomancer build? Which way would you go? Would you be able to go all the way up to top tree? Would you actually go like mess about a little bit, maybe not even grab some capstone, or maybe you're more of a anomaly power, or you want to be more of a support build and you're actually going to grab some of those nodes that I've just been talking about? Let us know in the comment section down below, and we'll be interested to see what you actually have to say about that. As always, thank you all so much for making this way to the end of the video. Thank you all so much for your continued support, and thank you all to the Babylonian family as always. Their names will be appearing at the end of every single one of our videos, as they always do. That just leaves me to say, keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.